So here's the thing guys, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of this. My name's Jake, I'm 29, married to Emma. We've got this golden retriever named Max who's basically our kid since we haven't had any real ones yet. Emma's always been worried about Max when we're both at work, you know how it is, the dog gets anxious, might chew up furniture or whatever. Last month, Emma suggested we get one of those pet cameras so we could check on Max during the day. Made sense to me. I work construction, she's a nurse, so we're both gone like 10 to 12 hours most days. Poor Max is just sitting there alone. So I went ahead and ordered this fancy camera setup online, one of those ones that lets you talk to your pet through your phone and everything. The installation was pretty straightforward. I mounted it in our living room corner where it had a good view of Max's favorite spots, his bed by the couch, the kitchen area where his food is, and the sliding door to the backyard. The camera had night vision, motion detection, the whole 9 yards. Cost me about $200 but seemed worth it for peace of mind. Emma was thrilled when I showed her how it worked. We could pull up the app on our phones and see Max in real time, even talk to him if he was being bad. The first few days were pretty entertaining actually, watching him chase his tail, bark at the mailman, take his afternoon naps. It was like having our own little reality show starring our dog. But then things started getting weird, and I mean really weird in ways I never expected. About 2 weeks after installing the camera, I started noticing some odd things in the footage. At first, I thought maybe the motion detection was glitching or something. I'd get notifications on my phone during work hours that there was activity in the house, but when I'd check the live feed, I'd just see Max doing normal dog stuff. Then I started actually reviewing the recorded footage from these alerts, and that's when I saw him. Some guy I'd never seen before was in my house. Not breaking in or anything, he had keys. He'd come in through the front door like he owned the place, Pet Max, who seemed to know him pretty well, and then just hang out for a while. The first time I saw this, I thought maybe it was Emma's brother Ryan or something. Ryan has a spare key for emergencies. But this guy was taller than Ryan, different build entirely. Dark hair, probably in his 30s, wearing casual clothes like jeans and a polo shirt. He looked comfortable in my house, knew where everything was. I watched him go to my fridge, grab a beer, sit on my couch, and flip through channels on my TV. Max was just chilling next to him like they were best friends. This went on for maybe an hour before the guy left. He even locked up behind himself and everything. My first thought was that Emma must know about this. Maybe it was some repair guy she'd hired, or a friend of hers who needed a place to hang out for some reason. But something felt off about the whole situation. Why wouldn't she mention someone would be coming over? And why did this guy seem so at home in our place? I decided to ask Emma about it that evening when she got home from work. That night when Emma got home, I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, ready to show her the footage. She came in looking tired from her shift at the hospital, gave me a quick kiss, and started asking about dinner plans. "Hey babe," I said, trying to keep my voice casual, "I need to show you something from the dog camera today." There was some weird activity while we were both at work. She froze for just a second, and I mean literally froze with her back to me while she was getting water from the fridge. Then she turned around with this forced smile and said, "Oh yeah? What kind of activity?" I turned the laptop around to show her the footage. This guy was in our house for like an hour today. Do you know who he is? Did you give someone our spare key? Sarah's face went completely white as she watched the screen. I could see her hands shaking a little as she held her water glass. For what felt like forever, she didn't say anything, just stared at the video of this stranger making himself comfortable in our living room. Finally, she cleared her throat and said, "Oh, that's David. He's a friend from work. I told him he could stop by and pick up some medical journals I borrowed from another nurse. I forgot to mention it to you." But here's the thing, her explanation didn't make sense. In the video, this David guy wasn't looking for any journals. He was drinking my beer and watching TV. And Sarah's whole demeanor was off. She wouldn't make eye contact with me, kept fidgeting with her hair, and her voice had this weird higher pitch to it. Medical journals? I asked. He didn't pick up any books. He just hung out and watched TV for an hour. Sarah laughed, but it sounded forced. Well, maybe he couldn't find them. I probably put them somewhere else. You know how I am with organizing stuff. Something in my gut told me she was lying, but I didn't want to start a fight over what might be nothing. So I just nodded and said okay, but I made a mental note to keep watching the camera footage more carefully. Over the next week, I started checking the camera religiously. Every day during my lunch break, I'd review the morning footage, and sure enough, this David guy was showing up like clockwork. Always around 10 a.m., always staying for about an hour or two, always making himself completely at home. But it wasn't just the timing that bothered me, it was how he acted. This wasn't someone picking up medical journals or doing any kind of favor for Sarah. This guy had a routine. He'd come in, grab a drink from our fridge, sometimes make himself a sandwich using our food. He'd play with Buddy, watch TV, and a couple times I even saw him answer our landline when it rang. One day, I watched him go into our bedroom. That crossed a line for me. I mean, what possible reason would Sarah's work friend have for going into our private bedroom? The camera didn't have a view of what he was doing in there, but he was in there for like 20 minutes. When he came back out, he was wearing one of my t-shirts. My t-shirt. Like he'd changed clothes or something. That's when I really started to panic. This wasn't some innocent favor for Sarah. This guy was acting like he lived here. I tried confronting Sarah again, but this time she got defensive immediately. Mike, why are you obsessing over this? David's a good friend and sometimes he needs a quiet place to decompress between shifts. The hospital can be stressful. I told him he could use our place occasionally when we're not home. But he's going through our stuff, Sarah. He was in our bedroom, wearing my clothes. Maybe he spilled something and needed to change. You're being paranoid and it's not attractive. That stung. Sarah had never talked to me like that before. We'd always been able to discuss things openly, but now she was shutting me down and making me feel crazy for being concerned about a stranger roaming around our house unsupervised. That night, I barely slept. Something was very wrong, and I needed to figure out what. I decided to take a day off work without telling Sarah. I wanted to see for myself what was really going on. I parked my truck about 2 blocks away from our house and walked back, positioning myself where I could see our front door but stay hidden. Sure enough, at 10:15 a.m., this David guy showed up. But here's what really got me, Sarah was with him. She wasn't at work like she'd told me. They walked up to our front door together, laughing about something, and she let them both in with her key. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. I crept closer to our house, trying to see through the windows without being spotted. Through our living room window, I could see them sitting on our couch together. Way too close together. Then I saw him put his arm around her, and she leaned into him. I felt like I was going to throw up. My wife of 8 years was in our house with another man, cuddling on the couch we'd picked out together for our 5th anniversary. But it got worse. So much worse. I watched them get up from the couch and head toward our bedroom. The bedroom where Sarah and I had shared everything, where we talked about starting a family, where we comforted each other through tough times. And now she was taking this stranger in there. I sat in my truck for 3 hours, just staring at our house, trying to process what I'd seen. When David finally left, he kissed Sarah goodbye at the front door. Not a friendly peck on the cheek, a real kiss, like lovers do. Sarah went back inside, and about 30 minutes later, she left too. Probably heading to work for her afternoon shift, ready to come home and ask me about my day like nothing had happened. I drove around for hours that day, not ready to go home and pretend everything was normal. How long had this been going on? Was David the reason Sarah had suggested getting the pet camera in the first place, so she'd have an excuse for him to be in our house. I knew I needed more than just what I'd seen that one day. If I was going to confront Sarah about this, really confront her, I needed solid evidence that she couldn't explain away or deny. So I started recording everything from the camera onto my laptop, creating a folder of footage showing David's visits. Going back through weeks of recordings was painful, but it painted a clear picture. This had been going on for at least a month, probably longer. David wasn't just some work friend stopping by occasionally. He was there almost every day that Sarah and I were both supposed to be at work. But the worst part was discovering that sometimes Sarah wasn't at work at all. I found footage of them arriving together, spending hours in our house together, in our bed together. On days when Sarah had told me she was pulling double shifts or covering for other nurses, she was actually with David. I also noticed things around the house that I'd missed before. The way our bed was sometimes made differently than how Sarah usually did it. How we'd run out of certain foods faster than normal. Small things that I'd attributed to being absent-minded, but now made perfect sense. One evening, I found Sarah doing laundry at an odd time. Usually, she did laundry on weekends, but here she was washing sheets and towels on a Wednesday night. When I asked about it, she said she'd spilled coffee on the bedding, but I hadn't seen any coffee stains. The lies were everywhere once I started looking for them. Late nights at work that I couldn't verify. New clothes that she said she'd gotten on sale but still had the tags on them, hidden in the back of her closet. A second phone that I'd glimpsed her quickly hiding when I walked into a room. I felt like I was living with a stranger. The woman I'd married, the woman I'd trusted completely, had been living a double life right under my nose. And our innocent pet camera had captured it all. Last Friday, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I'd gathered enough evidence, and the stress of pretending everything was normal was eating me alive. I printed out still frames from the camera footage showing Sarah and David together, timestamps and all. I organized everything into a folder and waited for Sarah to get home from what she claimed was a long shift. When she walked in the door, I was sitting at our kitchen table with everything laid out in front of me. "We need to talk," I said, and something in my voice must have told her this wasn't going to be a normal conversation. She saw the photos and her face crumpled immediately. No more lies, no more excuses. She just stood there staring at the evidence of her betrayal spread out on our kitchen table. "How long?" I asked. 6 months, she whispered, not looking at me. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of her coming home and kissing me hello while she'd been with another man hours before. Half a year of me trusting her completely while she was making a fool of me in my own house. "Do you love him?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to hear the answer. "I don't know," she said, and started crying. "I'm so sorry, Mike. I never meant for this to happen. It just did." We talked for hours that night. She told me about meeting David at the hospital, how their friendship had gradually become something more. How guilty she'd felt but couldn't bring herself to end it. How she'd suggested the pet camera partly because she thought it would help her feel less guilty. If we were watching Buddy, we'd see that the house was fine and safe. She never expected that I'd actually review hours of footage and catch them together. I'm writing this from a hotel room now. Sarah's staying with her sister while we figure out what comes next. I've talked to a lawyer, and we're probably looking at divorce. 8 years of marriage, gone because of a hidden camera that was supposed to help us take better care of our dog. The crazy thing is, Buddy's doing fine. Through all of this drama and betrayal, our dog just kept being a dog. Maybe there's a lesson in that somewhere, but I'm too hurt and angry to figure out what it is right now. I guess the only good thing is that I found out the truth instead of living in ignorance. That camera saved me from wasting any more years on someone who didn't respect our marriage. But man, it hurts. It really, really hurts.